Procrastination. Probably the one thing that kills more production, not only from educational procedures, physical, we put things off, financial, it doesn't make any difference. When we start using the word, I'll get to it tomorrow or later, we have done exactly what is killing our nation as a people and you as a person. There is always a price to be paid when we do something and put it off into the near future. Our greatness comes from solving problems. And we are, I think most of us would agree, we're in the throes of an issue about dealing with healthcare. And I want to touch on that because we are a culture that when we become responsible for our own self in a way that from a nutritional viewpoint, I want to talk to you about the incredible profit that's involved in that. I see numbers today in terms of premiums being paid for a couple of in the neighborhood of $1,900 per month. That's almost $22,000 a year in premiums, and their deductible is $7,000. I heard about it from a friend of mine today. Each one of them has a $7,000 deductible before they can even use it. I'm telling you that is really wrong. So wouldn't it make sense that if we produced a program that was not only profitable to you, but got you healthy to where you could control your own future, it would be a good change for you. And I would like to talk about the principles that we need to live under that will give us physical freedom and financial freedom and emotional freedom and maybe a real movement away from stress that our life is loaded with. So as we continue on in this thing, why wouldn't we promote wellness? You know, life is nothing but a series of choices, and in these choices we begin to make trades. And what I would like for you to do is trade with me tonight your old broken down body that's fatigued, stressed out, maybe a little bit fat, dealing with high blood pressure. Would you like to be interested in trading that for a body that's got some vibrancy, it's got some health to it, it's not worrying about cognitive loss? Wouldn't that be a neat trade to make? Harvard Business says that the cost of illness could be reduced by 70 to 90%. What would it take to do that? I think it's a very simple thing because, you see, I don't think that we're designed to be ill. And in that process, if I begin to meet with the physical, biological mechanisms in my body, by golly, you know, I function pretty well. And that's what I'd like to share with you tonight. Most healthcare initiatives focused on managed care. That means you get sick, you go down, you get a pharmaceutical, and you just continue that path. You really don't get healthy, but you control the pain. You control some of those nuances that go with just being sick. You really never get sick, you never really get well. A change toward wellness care versus sick care. Keeping in mind that 30 cents out of every dollar is spent just in administration fees because of the paperwork that the Western medicine has to deal with. This is one of those things that we just need to speak of in a straightforward way. Dr. William Jesse, who's president of an organization that they're in charge of about 275,000 physicians all across the United States, and he said, let's be candid. People are motivated to do things in their own best economic interest. And I'm going to suggest to you that there is an approach to your health that will be very, very profitable to you, and that candidly you can even make a living from by sharing it with others. You need to put this thing in the back of your mind about the importance for you to begin to take care of yourself. There is no incentive in the system that we live under today. In fact, it keeps us fat. Doctors make money, pharmaceutical industry make money, and the food industry makes money. Thinking of that, to buy foods that are dead and loaded with sugar, that is a opiate-like substance when it's finally metabolized in the body, and it absolutely enslaves you to an opiate-like. You kind of wonder where where the gateway drugs really are. Let us walk into this thing in an open mind and see what testing has been done. As far back as 1992, when I really got involved and really interested in talking to businesses about a wellness program. And Coors Brewery, way ahead of their times, they brought in a fellow by the name of Deerdorf from the University of Oregon. And they said, here's our organization, here's our business. What can we do to make it more efficient, more productive, using the same people? And in doing so, about 6 months later, as I understand, he came back and suggested a wellness program. And in that process, they built one of the best gyms, workout joints, in all of corporate America. And because of that, for every dollar that Coors Brewery spent in nutrition, they received $6.19. That was 1992. Now, you can talk about the efficiency of people, the less downtime, all of the things that would make up this profit, but that's an interesting thing. So if we're working under the conditions that we are currently in America today, this would be interesting for a company, a young company, to take a look at. Along with that, the National Institute of Business Management in 1994 talked about a $3 to $6 gain for every dollar that companies put into nutrition. What we want to do is show you the incredible wonders of feeling good, and the fact that you're more competitive, the fact that you're more energized, the things that go with it, cognitive skills, how quickly your mind works, you function better, you last longer. All of these things are a byproduct of good health. Escalating health insurance premiums, all of these things, we've been living with them for some time. Increased employees, they're showing a 35 to 65% increase in employees. Working environment changes, people are happier, they get along better. Why couldn't we look at that and say, what a neat idea? The Wall Street Journal reporting with Safeway, 76% of the employees sought and requested incentives to establish a healthy behavior. That's interesting when the employees say, hey, we really would like to be healthy, but we need to have incentive. We need to have money to put in our pockets for us to be healthy. Not something that they want to do on their own. They need to be compensated to work for them. Enjoying better health, overall health, 40% reduction in premiums. That was interesting. That's been a few years ago. 70% of all health costs, according to them, due to behavior. So if we change the behavior, the emotional side, we would have a huge impact on their physical well-being. This would be a place to start. In fact, our emotions drive our eating habits. So why wouldn't we start there and start gaining control of our emotions? If we could do that through nutrition, how much better off would you be as a worker, as an employer, if we could create that? In fact, they went on to say that cardiovascular disease could be reduced by 80% with the proper diet. Well, 60% of all cancer could be reduced. Diabetes, 98%. You know, we're talking about things that right now, I think as people look around in the environment they live in, the amount of diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular issues that we live in today, from a pharmaceutical viewpoint, I would think a person would look at this and say, you mean I can change it simply by changing some of my dietary happenings? Knowledge and discipline will give you freedom. I can prove that because I'm a walking, talking billboard of that from a 25-year campaign that I've been on. So where would we start? Well, in our initial program, why would we start with talking about more oxygen to the cell? You know, oxygen is one of those unusual atoms. Where there's the presence of oxygen, there's life. So obviously, where there's a lack of oxygen, there's death. And there's just a host of things that go with that. So if we could find food sources that increase the nitric oxide, which causes the veins and the arteries to pulsate, which would open up the cavities that you're looking at, it would make sense that the potential of lowering blood pressure would go through the ceiling. Well, the side effects of that would be more energy, more endurance, a host of things going just in overall lifestyles. So we've got this ability to introduce you to things that create a enormous amount of nitric oxide in a natural way, long term. So let's go down that road and see what we can do. From the plant world, from paying attention to eating live, organic nutrients, the phenols, the monoterpenes, the sesquiterpenes that are all products of plants. Think about this. We have cell junk. That's one of the code words in science today. Cell junk. That means your cells are just loaded up with junk. Can't move it out because it's dead. Imagine that. So if we could introduce something from the plant world that's alive, that begins to clean off the receptor sites so we could get nutrients in it so cells could talk to one another, gosh, what it would be like to have 100 trillion cells talking to each other and comfortable with one another. Along with that, sesquiterpenes, one of the most incredible finds in plant world. Delivers oxygen to molecules, increases by a measured 28%. Well, it doesn't take a whole lot of math to figure this one out. In fact, the American Medical Association says if you bring oxygen to cells, Alzheimer's disease, that's dementia, Lou Gehrig's disease, are in play for cure. That is the American Medical Association. So, helps ensure proper cell-cell communication. All of these things begin to deal with some of these diseases that we talk about. One in particular is ADHD. Right now, it is an epidemic problem. So if we could suddenly find a solution in this world, it would be most interesting. So now we get into the phytochemical world that we're dealing with. The Journal of Nurse Practitioners talks about the very things that we're discussing. Phytochemicals protect the plant from invaders. Therefore, if we consume it, it protects our body. Along with that, the national therapy is fundamental. Patients seeking relief from obesity and chronic disease seek this kind of food requirement. And on top of that, people say, oh, they won't stick with it. Well, I'll tell you right now, people will stick with it. In fact, it becomes almost addiction. I can tell you that straight up. Along with that, let's just talk about how we eat. This is where we would start. Well, I did some research. Put this thing together, and we found that Stanford said that the average person consumes 160 bowls of cereal a year. 160 bowls. 50% of that bowl is sugar. Along with that, we consume about 222 pounds of red meat. Gosh, if we just thought about the numbers of that, do we need that much meat? Do we need that kind of protein? Maybe we could make some changes in here, and if we cut that in half, you would get all of the meat protein you need, and along with that, you would feel much better. Your gut would come alive. I mean, that's just the beginning. And eliminate the 50 gallons of soft drinks that we consume on an average per year. The end result of that, and why would we eat this way, would increase your usable cash flow by 30%. That's tax-free money. If we could do that for you, is there any reason why you would want to put that off one day? And that's what procrastination will do. I'm suggesting to you that if this makes sense to you, follow me in this wonderful world of nutrition, because it's changed my life and the people around me so much that you will love every moment of it. Thank you so much.